Okay, so I'm sure you can see that there. I just want to just the transcription, right? And let me just turn back. Yeah, you can see the screen there, right?
Sir, that's not our document.
No, no, it's not. I'm gonna get you yours. I'm gonna get you, but you can see you can see the screen, right?
Yes, sir.
Good. Good. Okay, so let me just quickly get to yours. We'll just go through that.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, you see, this was also a problem, eh? But don't you see, like this, eh, this new AI version of, because this is plagiarism. You understand? Was found to
Then,
be not. Hmm? Yeah,
so
but
isn't it? So it's likely our work will be the same.
yeah, you see, that's what I'm saying. There's obviously like a loophole now. You understand? Whoever programs like whole campus must go now back and have that in consideration. You understand? So anyway, but I'm just saying to you, like that. Don't worry about that. We did, however, have to submit that. I don't think you'll get a call from Grant. It's going to be the first and second years that are going to have a problem with this. I'm saying with the score that goes over 30 at 30%, right? Okay, so I just want to say it's very difficult actually to work. I'm saying on Cole campus itself, um, because of the fact that you actually can't see the entire document. What I do is I normally just download. What I did to mark them was to download. You understand? The document, and then I can do it again. Just open it up. I can in PowerPoint, Adobe. But let me. I need to go through this first, so you can see just that, so you can understand. I think that'll be more important then. Okay. So this, I mean, like in terms of the first question, like to obviously define the typical listener, and then you give the graphic representation, and then it said there, okay, the graphic representation is 2 marks, and then define how you believe that it would be like the hypotheses. In other words, what you can assume from the listener, the student that you're now going to go and obviously go and do the surveys, etc., and obviously land up with a refined version at the end, right? So you guys did well. I liked it. Obviously, that you did well. I mean, that's why would I like anything else, right? Or feel anything different? But this was exactly what I was looking for, where you briefly described them. They're a young person, 19 to 25 of age, youthful, relatable, vibrant, color content, that's the type of stuff that I like. And then you used what we did in class, but obviously, you catered it a little bit further towards yourself. But then the main thing was also, again, to get all these marks was obviously a couple of things, So obviously 5 marks is for the explanation. That I did, what I wanted to see was that you lent into the like the culture, the lifestyle of this particular listener. It was very important. So if you had put out, look again, just to not say anything like, what is it? What is this? Let me just see. Okay. All right. Anyway, so to not kind of like break down or take away from what I found, right? As long as I saw, um, there was attributes that, like for example, like you stated about income and unemployment, and then there's passion for art and emotional attachments to it. She has social media friend group. So you were quite particular, which obviously you could have gone much further with this, in many ways, because like right there is the diagram, and which you can obviously use to, like we did with yeah, I can't even remember her name, the fictional one that we did in class, Amy, right? Okay. So that's what would get you the 10 marks there, which you guys did get on the 10 marks, right? So I was very happy that you did get also the second question correct, in the sense that I'm just gonna quickly try and go a little bit closer to that. The main thing I wanted from the Rams is, one, to identify. You had to identify, like, first and foremost, right? like some competitors, whatever competitors you could find that you could find, let's say, some data on, and obviously represent that data correctly. There was some assignments that, and again, I'm sorry I can't scroll up. That's the problem with that. And jumping into another window right now is going to just be a bit of a problem. So I'm just going to, like I said, go through it. So the thing is that some students went and said, like, for example, like that is a bit of a problem. Like, you need to be able to say, like, for example, that 1098 is that 1,098 daily listeners on YFM. That doesn't sound correct. Do you understand? Like, even though I gave you the full marks, like, I should take. That's what I said to you when I looked at it again. I was like, oh no, that's not right. That's not the way that we read that. Do you understand? You have to actually look at that in terms of like the thousands, right? So this is obviously like you're obviously adding like maybe another, what is it, three zeros to that or whatever it may be, which is quite a lot for YFM. Sorry, for 5FM, that makes sense. Sorry, with YFM, that's quite a lot for YFM. That's actually really good, if that's the correct stat. You understand, right? Which obviously it is, because you were only supplied with that. You should have taken it from the document I uploaded. You understand? But okay. So the detailed explanation, as far as possible, as to what the target market, was listening to, that was obviously pointing out the correct competitors. So you read and interpreted the what you were given, which is literally only numbers, and we couldn't, like, they supplied us with the full, like the full presentation, like way after the time that the F1 was actually submitted or done. Do you understand? Which didn't really help any of the lecturers much. So, whatever, you understand, right? I did send it to you, however. That's why I sent it in the group. It's got like that funny name to it. And so it was so that you had access to that. Okay, the references have to be correctly indicated. Once again, the 6 marks is that you had to actually identify at least 3 stations. Do you understand? Because the setting class, like, obviously the main thing was, like, it was five, it was YFM, it was 947, it was then, let's say, Val, Tux, and UJFM, like those are the 6 that you could have worked with. And if you found, let's say, data for that, you'd actually want to go ahead and do that. You understand? So this is why I thought that you deserved the marks. You understand? Because you went in to enough detail of, let's say, like the music formats, um the topics, which I'm guessing you didn't guess. You went and did some research on, but it does seem very viable and reasonable. I mean, realistic, that this is what, like YFM does target, because it is, like I say, it's street culture. It is for a much younger youth, a much younger target market of the youth, which is, like I say, starting at 15 and upwards. Do you understand? And probably, again, one of these station, out of all the stations, even the student stations, that targets a much younger market, and then obviously has a bit of obviously a larger reach in terms of maybe not as old as 30, right? But let's say about 28 is still about safe. If you are on the right mark, that's what I wanted to see, so that you weren't doing something wrong. Okay. All right. So then here, okay. All right. So you said, yeah, like you asked, so I just want to just go here. For example, you said that we asked Boston Media students qualitative and quantitative questions. We needed them to describe their experience on campus and what they like, and if they know, like, or dislike the content of BMH. So that, I know that was your attempt for the in-depth analysis, but that wasn't correct. What or the in-depth analysis is about saying, so when we did, when we wrote up and we formed this particular survey, we wanted to make sure, like, that we did focus also on, like, their spending, like their spending habits, and in terms of recreation, we wanted to really cater that to a student in particular, which is very different on how you guys socialize, and how you spend your free time, like when do you actually, and how much do you spend on your studies or whatever it is. So you had to really start to explain this approach, almost like you did when you composed that lesson in the beginning, right? But you had to take because there's a reason why you came up with these questions, right? It's because you did a much longer analysis. I'm saying to you amongst yourselves to get this description a little bit more in depth, which should have been presented. But you just basically told me what you did, not why you did it. Does it make sense? So in-depth analysis is the key word. In-depth analysis is what I was looking for. Okay. But then what I did was, so you could have, let's say, submitted the 10. If you didn't submit the 10, which some groups didn't, they would submit 9 or 8 or whatever it was. And even in the AMTs, there were some that just submit 15, which is not fair. Do you understand? I mean, I'd say there, in the comments, I'd be like, no, you submitted 15 instead of 30. Like, why do you decide on your own rules? You can't do that. While other people are doing the full amount of work, I would have subtracted marks there, even though it is not part of here. Do you understand? I'm saying to you, it's not stated um, specifically that if you do less, your marks will be taken away. But it makes common sense, right? So what I did with every group then is obviously I went through then the questions that you presented, and then everyone that was problematic, I would then just mark down. So for example, like number one, where you said there, like what genres do you listen to, had to be the multiple choices, because the thing is that you needed a person to be able to select from like select many different music genres. So I said number two is irrelevant without a why. So for example, man, I hope I can actually in some way see number two. And they're not. I'm just gonna go to maybe another one. Okay, is that, oh yeah, that's the station that you listen to, right? So the station that you listen to means nothing as long as until you say why do you listen to that station. And then question 9, which is, do you see yourself being part of the BMH radio of BMH radio station? Please be careful again, because I am going to be quite like belligerent in this with the spelling and the grammar. Please, guys, like I kind of gave the marks to you. Oh, and I shouldn't have, because just small things like that, that's grammar, that's incorrect. Okay. Sidebar. Anyway, BMH Radio Station, since you are a Boston Media House student, doesn't mean anything in terms of like putting do you understand? Like if they say no or they say yes, nah, like it didn't help, let's say, structure the station or reformat the way that the station is currently, right? Even to do, like it wasn't important enough to know that, right? So those are the only three out of all the ones that you did that weren't correct questions, right? They weren't constructed correctly. But the thing is that the low mark comes from the 5 that is not there for the in-depth analysis, right? And then because of the irrelevant questions, I took 2 off to, for example, like I said, for you to understand, right? Um, that obviously that had a problem. So I said that you need to put the quantitative questions that made sense into graphs, right? So that it gives me some kind of visual representation. It says publish document capture the results of the survey as per industry standards. All results are captured and interpreted accurately and succinctly, right? So if we go down, like you did a really great explanation of, let's just move down. Okay. So there we go. Okay. So look at all this. This was great. So I really enjoyed this. And that's why I said, you didn't do the graphs. I only took 2 marks off because you didn't do even one graph. You understand? Like just in terms of being able to see like where, for example, like what they enjoy most, what they wanted most from the station. Like for example, in like I said to you, do they want to listen to news or this or that or whatever it might have been, would be an easy and helpful graph. But again, with me, when you do quantitative analysis, what I said to you is, like I asked you guys, I said, like, do you know how to do pivot tables and pivot graphs? And you guys said yes. And I said, cool, that's what you need to actually do to apply this, to actually see something more than just a plain old graph. So we wanted to be able to see that, for example, like I say, like the woman predominantly enjoyed, you know what I'm saying, to advice and student affairs, for example, right? And you know, you could have combined, let's say, like I say, buying habits or recreational habits alongside more recreational would have made sense as a third dimension to that pivot table to really get some knowledge out of this. And that would have been really cool, just because you would have even found it very cool as well. It'd be like, oh, knowledge management is about having surprising results because we are not three-dimensional. We can't calculate things and process things in 3 or 4 dimensions. I'm saying to you, like data. So we use obviously technology to show us very quickly stuff that we then can interpret to a much obviously higher and more complex level, right? Okay. So with the auditory music testing, so once again, if you could see that you did the MTs perfectly fine. It was great. You know, you did what you needed to. You got the 5 marks, but there was no in-depth analysis as to how and why the music was selected. Right. So you see here, like here's so you went and did this, but you obviously provided the AMTs, right? Uh, in the separate sheet, right? Okay, and then there was no in-depth analysis. Does that make sense, right? So here's my here's my issue is that like from 5, see there, okay? And I really am gonna try and go even further, right? You can just see here. Okay. There wasn't a 5 to 6, right? Which was a problem. You see that? So that's why it remained at a 0. I think there was a question with the other groups as to why, let's say, they didn't get those marks or whatever it is either. Because the thing is, it had to simply be rearranged in order, like with a total. So you would have had a spreadsheet, right? And you would now have taken all the data from the AMT, the thirty people that, for like obviously filled those scores in for you. You would have put all the song names are, you know, let's say in the X, what do I say? That's yeah, on the Y. So on the Y axis, I'm saying so obviously vertically, and then horizontally would have been like participant 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then you would have entered in their scales. You understand their you know their get, what am I trying to say here, man? Their scores, right? Okay, so their scores. And then you would have gotten a full, like obviously a sum total for each one of the songs. Then what you had to do, which is what I said to you also in class, is that you had to take, like what you do is you had to take each category back again. You understand? Because the thing is that the old school classics will always test high. They will always test high because they were already hits a long time ago. So they've done their roots. And the thing is that if you were going to play a practice any music scheduling after this based on the results, all of a sudden, if you had to go according to the results, like your hour is suddenly filled with a whole bunch of classics only because they rated like very high amongst, let's say, your participants, right? So you needed to obviously recategorize them into the right category and then obviously present them, plus also the spreadsheet table with obviously the calculations, right? From, let's say, highest to lowest, right? So that's what how you got, let's say, the 10 marks over there. All right, then again, the last one was very straightforward. You take the steps that you did in 2, 3, and 5. So obviously, again, with the music testing and the surveys, etc., right, as well as your knowledge from the BRC and what you interpreted from competition and what is obviously important to young people and such, and then rewrite the obviously the typical listener. I want you to have a look at what you did give there, right? So when I read this, I was like, hold on a second, that's your last one. Okay. When I read this, it really wasn't like let's quickly go through just a bit of it. Average listener is between 90 to 25, according to the Rams. Most of them obviously listen to. YFM, 5FM stations. Okay, so that's still Rams, 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 Rams. You understand? And then you like BMH target audience is listening to 80%. You see, still from the Rams, I think, because that's what I saw in the Rams report that you did there. And then you only then started talking about like the music. That doesn't make sense. You asked so many other questions. You understand? Um, so all of those the results from the questions in the survey should have popped up here to describe the typical listener accurately. So in other words, what is the hypothesis? Our hypothesis is we assume something that's quite accurate. We do a literature review. I'm saying when you do obviously like supply research documents while you are actually studying, and if you go and you do your honors and etc., you're gonna have to do it again in a dissertation, etc. Like this is an emulation of that, right? So the thing is, at the end of or everything that you presented, like for example, like you've done in this document, right, which would be obviously a much larger scale, should you continue with your studies, right? Like the at the end of it, like your last chapter that you actually write in the dissertation is why all that research, literature reviews, obviously the surveys that you do surveys in any other subject matter as well. You do focus groups, you obviously do like a bunch of research on let's say facts and findings in science journals, whatever it is that will support what you are saying, and then you will have obviously this closing. Okay, so I'm not going to use, let's say, the example I'm saying to you here, like for example, your callers and your call outs and whatever it may be. I'm going to just explain why these were marked the way they were. Okay, so the first thing is the call out is it had to be relevant. In other words, like for example, like yours, you were saying like whether people like how was their response to like how what do they think of stage 10 basically as they watch South Africa fall down like to the ground, like burning basically at the hands of just mismanagement through the government or whatever it is, right? The thing is that why you got zero is because everybody, so when you must do everybody's going to say the same thing, which actually then you should have seen here. Because the thing is that they're all going to say they do not like it, they do not like it, they do not like it. You understand? And it doesn't matter about their story. Like beyond that, you should have changed the call out to be like, you know, we know that no one likes load shedding and they hate it, they despise it for many reasons, more so in this year than it was 10 years ago. And it seemed to be a very small problem when now it is an all problem. Do you understand? And so you could have said like how like tangibly, in other words, literally, has as load shedding uh, taken away from the quality of your life. You understand? That is a good call out because a lot of people will tell you like they lost their jobs or like what I'm saying to you, like there's now obviously the water shedding, which some people would also bring in and be like, I'm trying to run a business, I'm trying to do this, I've lost clients, I've done most of it will be business related. But also a lot of people would say about psychology. I think my sister, whenever she sees stage six, my younger sister, there's something that happens to her, even though we know how stage six works, how stage seven will work, whatever, it doesn't really matter, right? But she gets super demotivated as a human being because it reminds her of she gets very fixated about the problems in this country, right? I'm saying to you, and how it makes her incredibly depressed, you understand? And then it has a bit of a spiral effect in terms of like my sister's not mentally ill. It's a normal, it's quite a normal human reaction, but hers is very particular, like everybody else's would have been particular. Like load shedding depresses us, finished. Because it not only we don't have electricity, we can't bath yet in hot water, whatever it is, we're rushing home from traffic to try and quickly put something in the microwave just to get something too hot to eat. Like all we have to do take outs costing so much money, blah blah blah. Right. Like there's so many different like we must link it to the emotions. And again, when you are testing a call out, it has to have variant. In other words, differing unique responses when you are doing your ultimate callers. These are how we construct the idea of an ultimate caller, right? That's why this is put quite simply as, create three responses to see whether or not the call out will work. Okay. And if you can see that here, and you can see, ooh, no, I'm going to sit with a bit of a problem. Do you understand? You'd have to go back and you'd have to, like I say, kind of like polish up that to work better. The top 10 lists, this is what I said to everyone. Everyone did this, and I don't understand why, because once again, it was explained in class countless times, but also it was right there. It was in the brief. Like it said that it had to be humorous. In other words, it had to be funny. It had to make me laugh or anyone laugh. And the thing is that you guys did great top tens, but they weren't funny at all. They were all like informative as to what you could possibly do. 10 to 1, like the majority of you, if not everyone, used like Google to see different options of what they could include in there. So that's not really original in any sense. Like you could have taken that information, made it your own, and then, like I said, blown it up with a little bit of humor. Do you understand? So the guest just had to actually be someone that was relevant. In other words, not just anyone, like anyone that you like and whatever it is. It had to be someone like we say, someone from ESCOM, someone one of the groups wrote an electrical engineer, like that makes sense. You understand? Because they're going to be able to answer the questions, which again, 10 out of 10 if they were, because the questions I found were fine. I mean, they made sense. So, for example, let's just take one of your questions here. Like the first time load shedding occurred was in 2008, over a decade ago. What is driving the electricity problem in South Africa? See, good question. That's a good question. And the thing is that this person, the CEO, and that was a really good, in this case, great guest to have picked. Really nice. And like I said, so like someone else just kind of put something bland or whatever it may be, even though they got the mark. I was very happy that you guys actually went and saw who would be able to give us like some proper, clear answers and so on and so forth. So your questions are really nice. I really enjoyed that. The caption, no one really got right because what happened is, like I've said about social media, I said about social media, your caption, right? So in other words, what you're going to write there um, needs to be catchy. So engaging and promote. You got one because the thing is that when you did write the caption, it was informative. So in other words, it promotes the podcast, right? But it wasn't engaging at all. So that's where the mark went off. Literally, I gave everyone 3 and 2 for that, and that is the end of explaining the I'm gonna just stop sharing it. Any questions from
Uh,
uh you guys? Yeah, tell me.
I also never got my mark. Can I get
Why didn't you get your mark?
it doesn't show on co-campus, it shows as a tick, not the mark, like city.
Hold on a second. I just want to, like you're breaking up there. I can't hear. Just a little bit louder for me. So it shows on Call Campus.
As a tick, not the actual mark.
So is it a fees thing? Is it just a problem thing like Teddy had?
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna do this again. Uh, but I'm not gonna go through the thing. I'm just gonna give you your mark. Just give me a second because now I need to go back there. Just give me a second. History. Let's the speed grader. It just opens up quite nicely. Oh, just go and see. Um, am I looking for? Which one am I looking for? Because
Your
nice and loud. The connection's not so great.
your math.
Oh yeah, this one, eh? Come on.
Kioma CBC.
But you guys in the same group, guys. 56 as well, eh?
But the Kenyan at 65.
Hey,
That's what she said. Kentani got 65.
she didn't. There's 56. I told her,
Alright.
I took her through it yesterday, and I said to her, because there was the request on the group, and I said, cool, cool, cool. Let me please first. I have to pass, like I have to before we can assume like there was some kind of, because there was she was saying, oh no, there's no marks available. I'm saying to you like over here, right? She can just see zeros. I said I don't do that. I would have known, like especially because I marked yours very. I'm saying the first ones I marked was obviously the journalist, right? And so the thing is that let's say I had 100 or 120. I can understand maybe let's say I was maybe a bit tired and I might have missed. Let's say there might have been. I just said to her, was there a red mark there or was there a zero? And she said to me, she doesn't really know. There was just she was actually referring to this part here. So then before obviously contacted Grant for anything, I went to go have a look, and I said no, like the marks that are there, they're correct, right? No, she didn't get 65. She got 56. There was no change to the marks. The only changes that did come up was because there was there was that clarification, but again, Grant had to approve it to see whether or not that was something fair at the end of the day to do. But it was, and so I remarked. I think it was. Well, I mean, it was in Corsi, right, and the other two girls, right, and they got obviously higher marks because there was the one lady that just submitted half an assignment, which is why they initially failed. Okay, right. Does that I don't know if I shared that screen, does it make sense? Uh,
So you didn't share this.
okay, let me quickly just share. It's the same thing as I said as Teddy's, because you guys were obviously in the same group, I'm guessing, right? Just give me a second here. Yeah, yeah. So this is your so yeah, second, right, you see. So it's the same thing there. Okay. Same results because you guys worked in a team. You understand? Literally what I just went through right now was the same thing that you got there. Right. Even like I say, even having looked at, because again we said you must submit as a group. That's the main thing, right? Okay. And then and so yeah, that was the result. Okay. All right. Happy. All good?
Yes, sir.
Good. I'm glad. Okay, let's go through this very short lesson. It's only five. It's actually only like 5 slides. I'm gonna just go through the one. Um, and again, it's an added value lesson. But it is. It's 39 here. Okay, and it is literally. So it's again. I'm just gonna close this here. So it's about continuing about this managing content. Um, I'm going to start off and see there's only about 4 slides there. Okay, a lot of information, but like I say, it's some cool stuff. And I thought it'd be nice to actually stretch from radio as well to TV so that you understand like what is being sought after in terms of content. What you must like. So these things are very important, very simple as well. Okay, like how do you make good radio content? Okay, so not necessarily always being a great presenter, even though a lot of these like are hand in hand with being a great presenter, right? To present great radio, you need to know your listener, as we've been saying since the beginning of the year, right? Understand everything about your audience, why they listen to you, when they listen to you, what they listen on, etc., right? So that you can cater according to what it is, right? So, for example, like let's say as a broadcaster now, you are able to do that because you did the formative one and you have that information. As a presenter, maybe starting out at a new station, you really have to feel your way out. Do you understand? Because you're not. They don't give you like a quick course in like the entire obviously kind of like the knowledge of what the station has on listeners, etc., etc. Right. So normally you're feeling it out. But you can still accomplish this from show number one. Make your listener care. So, in other words, you want to be able to have them care through talking about things that are important to them. That's why they'll give a damn, right? You talk to one person. So, so that is something that you need to drop. So you must not say you guys anymore. This like it seems like a semantic, and but you must say you. Like, how are you feeling? I want to hear from you. Why don't you just pick up your phone, send me a message on the WhatsApp number? Like, it will change. You will see that that small semantic will change, like I say, the entire way that you actually do present. Because you must imagine yourself speaking to one person versus, let's say, standing on stage and speaking to a crowd. Even though you should still speak to one person when you are on stage, the crowd, you can't help but to talk to all of those people, and so the presentation style will actually change. Anyway, be in charge. In other words, like, so know obviously the desk, know the studio, know your show, have the prep, have obviously the sound bites you're going to play, know how the news is going to roll out, like when the news and the sports and whatever differ, whatever it may be, right? Learn the rules, then you can break them. So, like for example, we did the growth of presenters through their careers. And the thing is that in the beginning, you have to learn to abide by the rules to be a great presenter. And the thing is that when you become more, like I say, intermediate to advanced, like we allow you to play with the rules. So in other words, to bend them to create innovative radio, right? Okay. And so, like I say, there isn't, we teach you structures, but they are not the be all and end all at all. They're only the beginning. In other words, the foundation of what you can build everything else on, using that obviously that knowledge and that skill that we teach you. And make the mic your mate, right? So literally, it's like another limb, and obviously be yourself. Okay. So I'm not going to obviously read through all of them. I just want to give you a bit of a, so these are five new trends that are changing broadcasting and the future of television. So I'm not going to, like I say, read every single bit of this, but I want you to take note of like the key information points that you can just understand where people are at as consumers. You will be part of this consumer group, and you'll see a lot of obviously reflection of what they are saying in your own life and how you obviously consume information and, let's say, media, specifically, let's say, with broadcasting and radio, and let's say the future of television, right? So many stations are expanding their news coverage on OTT, like Lover, the top delivery systems, right? Okay, like Apple TV and Roku. So this creates a big opportunity for local TV stations and broadcasters, like meteorologist or whatever it is. It doesn't really matter. Like, to be able to have this larger presence, okay. And when you are streaming across on the many different apps that are available, the many different platforms as well, like, you, even if one or two or three or four or five in this month are new people that listen to you, like, it doesn't matter, because the more platforms that you are available on, I'm saying to you, right, and where you are more accessible, you're going to definitely reach a wider audience than only your feeder area that you have. Like, for example, let's say, like, now you're going to only broadcast to, let's say, the students, quote unquote, but you are streaming live on, like I'm saying to you, on online, right? If you just go and make sure that you have included the stream, the RSS feed, like somewhere, like Iono, whatever it may be. There's many different places. Apple, it doesn't matter, right? There's tons of places. Like, that, let's say, at least your show, when you can promote it, you can go and add a number of different links to different apps or whatever it may be, and then allow a person to quite possibly just come past your show while you broadcasting live. Okay. So, for example, they say they believe like max reality, like that's obviously like a category slash whatever. Sorry, this mask is being funny now. Okay. But it's the best. This is a product, right? It's the best storytelling tool. And forget the meteorologist specifically, right? But again, it just re-emphasizes the whole thing about functionality and tools, quality and timeliness of information. So this again is something that is again a tale as old as time, like because information is available immediately, right? You will have to use like the digital platform to be like interactive and present with it in your listeners around the 3 hours that you do your show. So I'm saying for the rest of the day, like you don't have to be stuck to social media. I'm saying hypothetically, you're available for 24 hours a day, right? So you can go and no one's telling you how to do it. I'm saying to you in ways that don't do this, don't do that, besides obviously offending them directly, right? But the thing is that you are allowed to experiment as much as you want to with I'm saying to you social media as it is. And so you should be using that as well. Steady incorporation of digital platforms, right? So let's say you have started your show. Don't all of a sudden just start telling people, oh, go to my site, go to this, go to this, like follow me here. So let's look at this little case study here. The steady incorporation of digital platforms has altered workflows. So, and COVID really accelerated that trend. So research from Majid now shows that users' preference to get, let's say, severe weather information on digital has finally reached, like a parity. Sorry, I don't even know. Yeah, parity. That's right. With preference for broadcasters, a noteworthy change, and so on and so forth. I know this is weather centric, but it applies across, across uh, what we are doing here. Okay. All right. Yeah. Let's just do these. I think there's these last ones just over here. Second. Yeah. Okay, so more local programming, right? Which again, I don't really need to read this. I want to emphasize one, yes, we've done that. We do support, let's say, local music, and we did that organically. But the thing is that a station is only relevant to a listener when it hits close, in fact, right into like the home that I live in. Do you understand? Because I am here, so we're talking about the smaller world that the listener lives in, can see, touch, feel, etc., etc. A lot of obviously international massive brands, CNN, whatever it may have been, which are reaching a global environment, must still work towards like coordinating their content so that it is relevant to the person sitting in their obviously lounge, watching TV, streaming it off whatever, like obviously platform they're on, or from their sites directly, right? But we need to also understand that again, like you have to like in within radio, like you will start and you will always be. There aren't any global radio stations for a reason. Like you can't please the entire planets. Do you understand? And so you know about localization, what obviously the sheer importance of it. So when you are talking about your when you are preparing your shows, please like when if there is something important in the world that's happening around you, but it is relevant also, it has a ripple effect on the South African's life. Go ahead and do that. We don't live in bubbles. We're not exempt from the world itself, but primarily, like what you hear on radio is South African driven because we live in South Africa. We are South Africans. We have South African life. Like this is what we care about. Okay. So the looming recession, increased cord cutting, and nothing but opportunities for broadcasters. Rodney Thompson says that audiences are leaving linear platforms more and more often, and streaming usage has surpassed cable as per from like late last year, July. Right. So a couple of things to remember: make money, use competitive advantage. Your content must match the platform. Um, and I think the last one here is that create a content wheel, all of which are relevant. Even like I say, this is within a weather aspect, but all of these ones are relevant to how you must go ahead and construct your product and your approach to this. What is the importance of the recession, right? The recession, one, just a cause and effect thing. Like we need to have more information in our lives to be able to live, right? So we are turning more and more to media, right? Maybe not the right media sources, but in radio and obviously television. I'm saying to you, like we are dependable fact sources, right? And so the thing is that we're finding a larger, like bit of a bigger interest, I would say, and investment from people that were maybe casual listeners to radio to becoming a little bit more I would say like habitual listeners. So in other words, there'll always be some kind of time, maybe once a day, or maybe at least 3 times a week, which is quite a lot, and a normal, like quite a lot for a normal average person to actually tune into a station, right? Instead of, let's say, every day, right? So, okay, I'm going to stop it there. See, also the time is gone. Um, and is there anything that I can assist you with otherwise? So just in general, Teddy, fine.
No, yes, I'm fine. Thank you.
Okay. All right. So I wanna, because I keep seeing Zibisi here, and I keep calling you by your surname. So is it Kioma? Is that how I say it? Okay. Go ahead. Okay. Tell me. And are you fine? Any questions? Anything I can
No,
help with? Okay. Ladies, go have a good weekend. Go have a good rest. I'll see you in class next week, Monday. So I'm going to send you a message, please, on the group. I'm going to organize that we do studio training, right, from on Monday. Okay. But I'll update you. I'm gonna message Kabangena and also add him to the group. All right. So I'll probably be in studio in the production studios learning your desk controls next week, Monday. All right. Okay. I'm gonna just say bye and have a good weekend, and you may log off. Cheers, cheers, ladies.